Tennis star Monica Seles is stabbed during a match. We've got the NBA playoffs. The Bulls open title defense against the Hawks and showed same a whole lot of might. And the New York Knicks, timber the Oak. As for baseball, we hope you wore that mask because it's going to get hot. We'll check out Junior with some fancy glove work as the M's try New York. We'll see Bass go fearing for her life during a match.
This was downright frightening today, Fred. 19-year-old Monica Seles, the #1 women's tennis player in the world, was stabbed in the back today during the quarterfinal match at a tournament in Hamburg, Germany. She was not seriously injured. Hamburg police say the assailant is German and told them he is a Steffi Graf fan. The man said he didn't want to kill Seles, only injure her to keep her from playing and help Graf. Authorities also added there were no political motives. What with Seles, a native of war-torn Yugoslavia. Yet after a 2-month layoff from tennis because of a viral infection, this made for a terrifying return. As Monica Seles rested during a routine changeover at the Hamburg tournament, neither she nor the crowd paid much attention to a man moving toward her from the stands. And calm became chaos. Seles had been stabbed between the shoulder blades. Her attacker immediately subdued and later identifying himself as a 38-year-old from eastern Germany. The weapon, a 5-inch knife, leaving an inch-deep wound in Seles' back. One spectator said later there was a thud as he stabbed her. Another spectator told CNN,
"I heard Seles scream, and she got up from her chair. She was sitting down during a changeover. As she got up from the chair, there was a gentleman hanging over the railing and over the chair where she was sitting. The gentleman was immediately subdued by a security personnel. Moments later, more security personnel came around and continued to subdue him."
Seles, her face twisted in pain, was treated on the court, then placed on a gurney and wheeled from the stadium to University Hospital in Hamburg, where doctors said her condition was not life-threatening and that the blade did not penetrate her lungs. Though never before the victim of a violent act, Seles has, according to the Women's Tennis Association, received death threats for the last couple of years and even a bomb threat last July at Wimbledon. The threats stemming from the conflict that has torn the former Yugoslavia apart. Seles is of Hungarian descent, but was born in a Serbian region of Yugoslavia and still lists Yugoslavia as her country. Still, Friday's attack raises questions about security for all players.
Well, I didn't hear the news. I actually saw it on CNN, and I was pretty sickened by the whole episode. What's going through my mind on the changeovers, just thinking about what happened. That was the reason why I didn't play well tonight, but, it's something that I hope never happens to anyone ever again.
It's really sad. I feel terrible for Monica and her family, and it makes you wonder about the security of athletes and public figures.
One doctor said, all things considered, Seles was very lucky. She is expected to need at least a month to recover, preventing her from competing for a 4th consecutive French Open title. That tournament begins May 24th. Seles, who has lived in the United States since 1986, is being hospitalized overnight and is expected to be released on Saturday. Fred.
And more tragedy in playing so that Steffi Graf could become the world's top female tennis player again. Police say the attacker used a meat trimming knife.
I later went down to the court right after the incident, and there was a knife on the cubicle where the players have their drinks, and there was a knife there which apparently was the alleged weapon that was used. It was about 8 to 10 inches long, had a thin blade, and it was serrated. Looked sort of like a paring knife or a fishing knife that you would use to scale a fish.
Seles suffered an inch-deep wound between her shoulder blades. She's expected to leave the hospital tomorrow, but doctors say she won't be able to play tennis again for at least a month. A Texas county official said he saw
Elena Maliva. The man has told police he did not intend to kill Seles, only to injure her because he's a Steffi Graf fan, and he wanted to prevent Seles from playing. Well, thankfully, her wound is not life-threatening, and she is expected to be sidelined for about 4 weeks and back on the tour. Well, the Bisons
earlier, she should recover fully from today's shocking attack by a knife-wielding fan and be playing tennis in about a month. And the world's top-ranked women's player sitting during Elena Maliva in Hamburg, Germany, and she could be heard screaming in pain. And quickly, the man who stabbed her grabbed a 1-inch deep cut in her back. And it turns out The attacker, a 38-year-old German, told police he wanted to injure Seles, not to kill her, because he is a Steffi Graf fan. How sick can you get? And this may have a profound effect on future security at sporting events. We'll see. Steffi will recover, but the horrifying reality of her vulnerability will not be soon forgotten. Well, no Stanley Cup action tonight, as we told you, but the Sabres...
As early as tomorrow, Seles was stabbed in the back by a German spectator during a break at a tennis match in Hamburg today. Doctors say she was not seriously injured, but the knife narrowly missed her spinal cord. The suspect reportedly told police he stabbed Seles because he wanted German player Steffi Graf to regain the #1 place. Graf lost her crown to Seles in March of 1991. There's an unusual gathering in Kansas City this week.
Bizarre knife attack.
Are you ready for cosmic beer? Yeast bottled up inside the space shuttle could be the recipe for a new brew. Spectator with a knife snuck up behind her and stabbed her in the back. CNN's Vince Cellini has the story of a routine tennis match that came within inches of becoming a tragedy.
As Monica Seles rested during a routine changeover at the Hamburg tournament, neither she nor the crowd paid much attention to a man moving toward her from the stands. And calm became chaos. Seles had been stabbed between the shoulder blades. Her attacker immediately subdued and later identifying himself as a 38-year-old from Eastern Germany. The weapon, a 5-inch knife, leaving an inch-deep wound in Seles's back. One spectator said later there was a thud as he stabbed her. Another spectator told CNN,
I heard Seles scream, and she got up from her chair. She was sitting down during a changeover. As she got up from the chair, there was a gentleman hanging over the railing and over the chair where she was sitting. The gentleman was immediately subdued by security personnel. Moments later, more security personnel came around and continued to subdue him.
Seles, her face twisted in pain, was treated on the court, then placed on a gurney and wheeled from the stadium to University Hospital in Hamburg, where doctors said her condition was not life-threatening and that the blade did not penetrate her lungs. Though never before the victim of a violent act, Seles has, according to the Women's Tennis Association, received death threats for the last couple of years and even a bomb threat last July at Wimbledon. The threats stemming from the conflict that has torn the former Yugoslavia apart. Seles is of Hungarian descent, but was born in a Serbian region of Yugoslavia and still lists Yugoslavia as her country. Still, Friday's attack raises questions about security for all players.
Well, I didn't hear the news. I actually saw it on CNN, and I was pretty sickened by the whole episode. What's going through my mind on the changeovers, just thinking about what happened. That was the reason why I didn't play well tonight. But it's something that I hope never happens to anyone ever again.
It's really sad. I feel terrible for Monica and her family, and it makes you wonder about the security of athletes and public figures.
One doctor said, all things considered, Seles was very lucky. She is expected to need at least a month to recover, preventing her from competing for a 4th consecutive French Open title. That tournament begins May 24th. Vince Cellini, CNN reporting.
Last-ditch efforts to persuade Bosnian Serbs.
After she was stabbed in the back at a match in Hamburg, Germany on Friday. She was resting between games on the sideline when an unidentified German man stabbed her in the back. Seles stumbled toward the net where she was helped to the ground. Her attacker was pinned down by people in the stands. Police now say the attacker claims to be a fan of another women's player, Steffi Graf, a German, and wanted Seles sidelined for a while. In Waco, Texas, officials...
Sobering, beginning with the Indians' tragedy.
Tragedy was unfolding in most shocking fashion. #1 in the world, Monica Seles, was stabbed between the shoulder blades by a man attending her match in Hamburg, Germany on Friday. Seles's injuries are not life-threatening, but they may prevent her from defending her title in Paris when the French Open begins in 3.5 weeks. U.S. Open officials say they will review their security plans in the wake of today's attack. Players throughout the game have voiced their concern and best wishes for Seles, who was playing her first tournament in 2 months. Seles was closing in on a straight sets win over Magdalena Maleva. During the odd game changeover, cameras cut away from the #1 player A man identified as a 38-year-old from eastern Germany then stabbed her in the back with a 5-inch knife. A security guard immediately subdued the attacker, while others at courtside rushed to the aid of the 19-year-old Seles. According to Hamburg police, the man in custody says he did not want to kill Seles, only to injure her to keep her from playing. He calls himself a Steffi Graf fan. Graf is ranked second in the world behind Seles. Police add there were no political grounds for the attack, that the man appears confused and may be mentally disturbed. Seles' manager reports that the stab wound did not hit the spinal cord or the lungs, but adds that the extent of injuries and the length of Seles' recovery are yet to be determined. L.A. Raiders defensive back Dave Waymer.
One day after she was stabbed in the back by a spectator at a tennis tournament in Hamburg, Germany. Seles is said to still be in shock. She's doing well physically, but emotionally she's having problems, but she reportedly will be released from the hospital today. Her attacker, a 38-year-old German, is said to be a fan of Steffi Graf. He told police he wanted to hurt Seles because he couldn't bear to see her ranked ahead of Graf. Graf visited Seles in the hospital yesterday. Seles will miss the French Open and could be out anywhere from 1 to 3 months. Back to the NBA. First.
Stabbed in the back by a crazed spectator at a tennis tournament in Hamburg, Germany yesterday. Our alleged attacker is in police custody. The East German man says he stabbed Seles because he couldn't bear to see her ranked above German tennis player Steffi Graf. Seles could be off the court for up to 3 months. Treasury Secretary Lloyd
in the back during a break at a tennis match in Germany yesterday. Seles was not seriously wounded. Police say the attacker wanted to hurt Seles so Steffi Graf could regain the top ranking. Graf visited Seles today. The university clinic in Hamburg says Seles is in shock and will remain in the hospital for observation. New research.
With attempted murder, Monica Seles is recovering from stab wounds suffered when he attacked her yesterday. I'm Brent Weber, Headline Sports.
But she has suffered psychological harm from the attack. Doctors sewed up the cut and kept Seles in the hospital for observation. Her assailant was identified as Gunther P., a semi-retarded, unemployed German who was upset that Seles took the #1 world ranking from Steffi Graf. Play at the Citizens Cup resumed. Graf defeated Yana Novotná in 3 sets after paying Seles a visit at the hospital. Arantxa Sanchez Vicario stopped Magdalena Maleva in straight sets. They'll play in the final on Sunday. The weather-delayed second round is now complete at the Houston Open. Blaine McAllister's round of 60.
Seles will remain under observation after being stabbed in a match in Germany yesterday. They say she is still in shock from the incident. Seles was resting courtside when a 38-year-old Eastern German spectator lunged over a railing and stabbed her in the back. He tells police he stabbed Seles because he's a fan of one of her competitors, Steffi Graf. Graf visited Seles at the hospital today. U.S. Treasury Secretary Lloyd
serious, but she has suffered psychological harm from the attack. Doctors sewed up the cut and kept Seles in a hospital for observation. Her assailant was identified as Gunther P., a semi-retarded, unemployed German who was upset that Seles took the #1 world ranking from Steffi Graf. Play at the Citizens Cup resumed. Graf defeated Yana Novotná in 3 sets after paying Seles a visit at the hospital. She'll take on Arantxa Sanchez Vicario in the final. Steve Wrigley, Headline Sports.
After being stabbed in the back by a German factory worker. Police say the man had planned the attack for quite some time and spent the entire week at the Citizen Cup tournament waiting for a chance to assault the #1 women's player. Physically, Monica will be okay, although we're told she's going to be sidelined anywhere from 1 to 3 months. But Monica was described today as being very depressed by Steffi Graf, who visited her friend and fellow competitor at the hospital this afternoon. Steffi said afterwards that the 2 young women spent most of the day just crying. Hospital officials say that the butcher knife used to stab Seles could have killed her. They also said in a written statement today, quote, the psychological condition of the patient has been attacked. Up next on SportsCenter, the Oakland pitching staff
and should heal rather quickly. What's more of a concern is her mental state. The university clinic released a statement that said because of the severity of the attack and the fact that it could have had more serious or even fatal consequences, the psychological well-being of Seles has been impaired. The attack was carried out by a 38-year-old lathe operator whom police would only identify as Gunther P. He said his motive was not to kill Seles, but to injure her so that the German native Steffi Graf could regain the #1 ranking in the world. Graf visited Seles in the hospital today and said that Seles was depressed and that both spent a lot of time together simply crying. Later in the afternoon, Graf took the court and played her semifinal match in the Citizens Cup. She was visibly shaken, but fought past Jana Novotná in a 3-set match. Graf will face Arancha Sanchez Vicario in tomorrow's final. Seles, meanwhile, is expected to miss 1 to 3 months due to the wound, but the psychological scars could keep her away from the game much longer. Nancy.
Baseball now, and the
The world's #1 ranked tennis player, Monica Seles, spoke with the press for the first time today since she was stabbed in the back with a knife at a tournament in Germany last Friday. Seles, who doesn't know how soon she'll return to action, says she's feeling better day by day. She also gave her recollection of the frightening incident.
I just leaned forward kind of just to put the towel here and concentrate. And all I just felt was like, woo, something in my back. And I automatically went forward because I know something went in. I don't know how big it was or, you know, and then I just saw blood coming out. And I mean, then I turned back and I just saw the guy with a knife. And, you know, it's just, I don't know what was going on. I didn't know how bad it was. And, you know, I was lucky my brother was there, so he kind of helped me to keep calm.
There's plenty of baseball this
Wheeling fan meeting with the media today in Colorado. Her doctor says no timetable set for her return, and Seles says she just wants to put this horrible ordeal behind her.
You know, right now I don't think about it. I think for me the thing is just to recover kind of and just day by day. I don't want to look too forward, and as I said, just, you know, I have to do a lot of therapy and just get back my arm. That's my major concern.
All right, Carol, we wish her well. And Michigan's Chris Webber makes a decision.
Office Depot is fantastic.
I bought my whole office there.
I just feel good when I walk in the door.
Was the reigning woman tennis player in the world, but then a spectator attacked her during a tournament in Germany. Seles is now in Colorado, and today she talked about the incident and its effect on her future. CNN's Banner Allwright joins us now with the latest. Banner?
Bobby, it's a situation that has raised concerns for all athletes in the spotlight. The fact that a fan could come out of the stands and inflict bodily harm upon a competitor sends a scare throughout the world of sports. That's exactly what happened to tennis star Monica Seles last week. She was competing in a tournament in Hamburg, Germany, when out of nowhere a German fan jumped the fence and stabbed her in the back. His intent, he said, was to injure Monica so his favorite tennis player, Steffi Graf, could take over the world's top ranking. Today, Monica met with the press for the first time since that moment of terror.
I just leaned forward kind of just to put the towel here and concentrate. And all I just felt was like, woo, something in my back. And I automatically went forward because I know something went in. I don't know how big it was or, you know, and then I just saw blood coming out. And I mean, then I turned back and I just saw the guy with a knife. And, you know, it's just, I don't know what was going on. I didn't know how bad it was. And, you know, I was lucky my brother was there, so he kind of helped me to keep calm.
Now comes the time of recovery and rehabilitation. Monica has already admitted that the mental recovery may take more time than the physical rehabilitation, and she also said she has no plans to leave the game. She's optimistic.
I'm quite happy that I can play tennis again, hold a racket. That's definitely, I mean, it would have been kind of a hard ending my career at age 19, and I do hope I have a few more good tennis left in me. Then I look at the positive side. You know, it happened, and I just have to look at the next step, and that's my recovery to try to get back.
She's progressing very well as far as the recovery is concerned, but there's no way to define exactly what the recovery time will be. And most injuries, there's a a standard recovery time based on a lot of cases. But this is a unique case, so we can't say that she'll be ready to go in X amount of time.
As for the future, Monica obviously feels that the security at the tournaments needs to show some significant signs of improvement.
You know, it's a sporting event. I never thought this would happen. You know, it was just, it was a shock, that's for sure. And I do hope it's never going to happen to anybody, because I think it just doesn't fit in here. I think most of the players, I would not like to generalize, but most of them definitely, the tennis players are quite close to the seating area, and you have no protection. I mean, I could not protect myself from the back. I had no idea this was coming. I just do hope it's going to improve for everybody. I mean, I always, as I said, I don't think somebody else has to get hurt again for people to say, oh, wow, this is happening, you know, now quite a few times, so we better do this. And it's just unfortunate. Always something has to happen for some things to improve. And the security just I think has to be better.
We'll have a lot more on Monica's situation, as well as reaction from other athletes around the world on the security issue. That comes later tonight with Nick and Fred at 11 Eastern. Frank?
Thanks, Vanner. All political violence flares.
Is now for Chris Webber. He is 20.
Our most concern is recovering the full use of her left arm. The world's top-ranked women's player discussed last Friday's stabbing for the first time. Seles has two medical problems: soft tissue damage from the knife blade and the impact of the knife on her shoulder. But as she spoke today in Vail, Colorado, the 19-year-old Seles described the most frightening moment of her life.
It was a shock, that's for sure, and I do hope it's never going to happen to anybody, because I think it just doesn't fit in here. I just leaned forward kind of just to put the towel here and concentrate. All I just felt was like, woo, something in my back, and I automatically went forward because I know something went in. I thought, I don't know how big it was, or, you know, and then I just saw blood coming out, and I mean, then I turned back and I just saw the guy with a knife. And, you know, it's just, I don't know what was going on. I didn't know how bad it was. And, you know, I was lucky my brother was there, so he kind of helped me to keep calm. I mean, you know, the whole world, there's danger out there, and it can happen anywhere. And, you know, a lot of other athletes been in these situations, and I think, you know, just nobody has gone as far as this guy, pretty much. I don't think somebody else has to get hurt again for people to say, oh, wow, this is happening, you know, now quite a few times, so we better do this. And it's just unfortunate. Always something has to happen for some things to improve. And the security just I think has to be better. You know, in a lot of sports, you have a lot of sports that the spectators are just extremely close to the athletes. I'm quite happy that I can play tennis again and hold a racket. That's definitely, I mean, it would have been kind of a hard ending my career at age 19. And I do hope I have a few more good tennis left in me. Then I look at the positive side. You know, it happened, and I just have to look at the next step, and that's my recovery to try to get back.
Seles said it would be some time before she would be psychologically ready to resume her career, and that she might seek counseling if she felt the need for it. Charlie?
Now to the afternoon.
And it was fifth-seeded Jennifer Capriati's.
Although she's still recovering from the stab wound, Pete Sampras' Jim Courier listed 1-2 on the men's side. Paul Runnels, Headline Sports.
Our television, and is distributed by Warner Brothers Domestic.
When do you think you'll be back?
Diane Sawyer's exclusive interview, plus we go undercover.
26th, 1993.
It was a moment the tennis world will never forget. The day superstar Monica Seles was stabbed by a crazed spectator.
Do you hate him?
Oh, no, not at all. No, I can't hate anybody. I'm not a person like that, no.
Tonight, the youngest #1 player in history emerges from seclusion to answer the question, will she ever compete again?
In a way, I lost everything because of the stabbing. I have to start from the scratch to get back where I was.
A primetime undercover investigation.
4 months ago, the world watched in horror as a fan came out of the stands and drove a knife into the back of a young tennis star. Monica Seles, the teenager who made that impossible journey from a simple town in Eastern Europe to #1 player in the world. Since that day, Seles has had a lot of time to think about the game, about the cold reality of the competition. Her fellow players voted to take away her highly lucrative #1 rank. And she's also learned a little about herself and the high price of her unpredictable behavior in a very serious sport. We caught up with Seles in Florida to talk about terror, tennis, and the tough road back. It was the tennis equivalent of a nuclear strike when young Monica Seles of Yugoslavia launched those heat-seeking two-handed backhands. Those two-handed forehands, each blast accompanied by the trademark grunt. Even as a kid, she was an unyielding competitor with an eerie, almost laser concentration. Chris Evert was the first of the old titans to fall. Martina once stopped to applaud her, saying it was like being hit by a truck. Soon the teenager had rocketed from number 88 to number 3, a girl with a giggle and a flamboyant style, tossing roses to the crowd. She was just 17 in 1991 when she grabbed the title from Germany's Steffi Graf, becoming the youngest player ever to be #1 in the world.
What is it you miss the most? Is there a certain
Oh,
sensation?
I missed the thrill. Oh, I love it when you go out there in the stadium. And just when you hit a great passing shot or a good shot, it's like, yeah, I hit it. It's just that feeling.
Steffi Graf tried to get the title back, but couldn't. There was no stopping Seles until that split second in Hamburg, Germany, April 30th, 4 months ago. She was playing Magdalena Maleva. It was a tough match. They were on the break between games.
I remember sitting on the bench. I was just like thinking to myself, I should change. I'm giving my opponent a little bit of too much what she liked.
As she sat there, a man moved out of the anonymous sea of spectators down toward her, and with both hands clutching his weapon, lunged.
And then suddenly I just felt like such a hard pain, like sharp pain in me. It's like, ooh. And then I wanted to touch what's in there, and I just saw blood. And then as soon as I saw blood, I was like, whoa. And then I looked back, and I saw this person holding his hand up again, like he wants to stab me. And after that, all I remember was my brother. He jumped on the court, and he was there, and he said, just stay calm. And that's all I really remember.
You don't remember getting up and moving toward the net?
Not at all. No.
Were you even conscious of sitting up on the stretcher of time?
Not at all. I just couldn't understand the whole thing. It's like, did it really happen? Is this real, or am I just still dreaming? It's like I was waiting to wake up.
Strangers in the crowd wrestled the attacker to the ground. He was a German lathe operator named Gunther Parker, who said he did it because he wanted the German player, Steffi Graf, to be #1 again. Had he stabbed a little closer to the lungs or spine, she would have been paralyzed or dead. His weapon, this 9-inch serrated boning knife. From that instant on, the #1 player in the world was out of the game. She spent 4 months in the shadows. The tabloids even offered a reward for anyone who could get a shot of her wincing on a tennis court. No one did, because she now tells us no one could.
I haven't been on a tennis court. No, I can't swing yet. So I haven't been on a tennis court yet.
She says there's a transient numbness in her fingers. She has held a racket to hit a dropped ball, but she and her father, who has been her lifelong coach, agree. Lest she undermine the old cannonball swing, until she has it perfect, she won't really start to practice.
Until a point that someone will say swing, and I'm going to swing without any pain, naturally. There's no reason to hit or do anything.
Initial reports said the wound was just 1 inch long and 1/2 inch deep. There was no infection. But her doctors here told us there are other considerations. There's no way to know the angle of the blade, how much muscle was hurt. And then there's the incalculable psychological impact of the terror. 1 minute, she says she'll conquer it. The next, she's a 19-year-old with a nightmare.
I didn't look at the injury. I still can't. I never looked in the back mirror.
You never have?
No, I can't. It's not something that I want to do. It just reminds me too much of that, what actually happened. So I don't know how it looks from the back.
It's hard to imagine, though, that you don't sneak back out on the court.
No, I can't.
Really?
No. Well, it's hard. It's very hard for me to even watch. I try to watch the French and the Wimbledon, and of course there's some other small tournaments on TV, and I just started, but it's just very hard.
Just the memories. Which is going to be harder, the physical comeback or the psychological one?
Both are going to be hard. I have to deal with both of them. I mean, tennis is something I love to do. I play tennis since age 7, and to get to be at the position where I am, oh boy.
Does it flash back a lot just on its own?
I mean, it does pretty much, because I was in a tennis match when this happened. I was doing something that I love, and I never ever expected something like this to happen. And whenever I think about it, it's just very hard.
And there was something else Seles had to face after the stabbing, something about fairness and friendship. Her peers had a choice about her #1 rank. They could have put her in a special category until she was ready to play again. But in an unprecedented vote, the overwhelming answer was no. Seles was out on her own. In effect, the stabber would get what he wanted. A month later, Steffi Graf was once again #1.
For me, why it's so hard to understand this, because this was the reason that he stabbed me, or he wanted to kill me, whatever. So Steffi could be a #1.
So you're saying whatever it was, if there had been some consideration, even a symbolic consideration, for the intent of this attacker.
Yeah. You know, some consideration or something, just so when I come back, I mean, I don't know where they're going to put me. Am I going to play qualifying, or am I going to be unseated, or whatever? So if I do decide to come back, I just wonder about that.
Didn't you hope for solidarity of some kind?
I was surprised, but I just felt some consideration would be nice.
But the tennis world always regarded Seles as an outsider. Some thought she was too flashy and self-promoting, using tennis as a springboard to celebrity.
Not gonna sell out.
The giddy teen who said she was going to be an actress.
I'm not giving up my acting lessons.
And already played the star, trying out new hairstyles, new clothes, new looks, and making no excuses.
I think as a #1 ranked player, when I was #1, what I learned is that anything you do, it's much bigger than if you are number 20 in the world, or so.
Do you still think about acting?
Oh, I said this when I was 15.
In 1991, she compounded the blunders of youth and inexperience by canceling out of Wimbledon just 3 days before the tournament, leaving the royalty of England and of tennis in the lurch. She hid out, melodramatically refusing to explain herself, emerging only in a bizarre photo with her family in wigs. There were rumors of sickness, pregnancy, a romance with Donald Trump. The Tennis Association leveled a fine, and at the next Grand Slam tournament, the U.S. Open, the crowd booed.
When you look back at Wimbledon, do you say to yourself, why didn't I just come out and say everything right away to everybody and get it done?
Yeah, I'm very competitive, maybe a little bit too competitive, and it's very hard for me to admit to myself that I have to pull out. And over there, I didn't want to face the reality.
Her doctors told us the reality was a pre-stress fracture. It went away when they redesigned her shoes. But last year, when she did show up at Wimbledon, the tabloids were lying in wait with their humiliating gruntometer. Her fellow players chimed in, complaining about the sound until the All England Club reviewed the situation and ruled that after all these years, Miss Seles was just too loud. Seles stopped grunting, but lost the tournament.
I've been doing it for 4 years, and nobody ever said a thing at any tournament. And I let it bother me too much, and I wish I didn't. I could have played a better match at least.
Did it feel sometimes you couldn't do anything right?
A few times, yeah, because you think about it, you know, I mean, if I wear a black shirt, are they going to think I'm now always depressed, and that's why I wear black? If I wear white, then, oh, why is she wearing white?
After the stabbing, fans and players rallied to her side, and Seles says she'll always be grateful, even though every now and then someone takes another swipe at her, saying 4 months is a long time. There are questions and some completely wild rumors about what's really keeping her off the court.
They said you were a basket case.
Yes.
They said you had put on tens of dozens of pounds, which is clearly a terrible problem you have. There is a sense among some people that this was a minor injury and that if you wanted to, you could just bound right back tomorrow. In fact, Mary Carrillo...
Even former player and commentator Mary Carrillo had something to say in the London Sunday Times.
She said, specifically, she's going to milk this sucker dry. Tennis is just a stepping stone. Her real goal is being a star.
Oh, okay, milk the sucker then, what is that?
Meaning that you like the drama of this and that it's not real.
It's so unfortunate. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they realize how hard it is for me not being there at any in these tournaments. But I think, you know, it's until somebody's not stabbed, I don't think they know the feeling of it.
So Monica Seles spends her days running and working out. She says her legs are getting stronger than ever, but her upper body work is still light. She has also spent time with other stab victims to learn how they deal with trauma. But what about her legendary concentration? Can you ever really block out the memory of someone lurking over your shoulder?
I was always a strong person mentally, and this is just that's another hurdle that I just have to jump over.
When do you think you'll be back?
Back on the circuit, that I don't know, but back on the court, I do hope soon.
Like days?
Oh, I don't think that's soon. That's a little bit unrealistic, but going to competition is a whole different story because I haven't hit a ball. How am I going to do? I don't think anybody knows if I'll be at the same level. That's only time is going to tell that.
If you're not, will you just quit?
Oh, no. I'm not a quitter, no, in anything. That's not in my book. I love this game, and I just love to play it, and that's what I'm going to keep doing. As soon as that happens, I'll be the first one who's going to say to everybody, hey, I'm back on the court, and I'm practicing, and I'm happy, and I made it through.
Since the stabbing, security at tennis tournaments has been beefed up. They even used metal detectors at the French Open. Monica Seles' assailant, Günther Parker, has been charged with causing grievous bodily harm. He's being held for trial, possibly in October. It's expected he will be sent to a mental institution. Also, we asked Seles if she were going to watch the U.S. Open. She said she'll watch the early rounds, but probably not the semis or the finals because she would only be thinking, I should be there.
Sports. A Conversation with Monica Seles, a CNN Sports Special.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our CNN Sports Special, A Conversation with Monica Seles. I'm Tom Kirkland. On Friday, we spent the day with the now former #1 women's tennis player in the world, walking the beach in Florida, working out, eating ice cream, even talking to the animals at a jungle habitat. You'll see it all in the next half hour. Now, on Monday, of course, the U.S. Open championships begin, but Seles won't be there to go after her third straight title. Matter of fact, there's serious doubt about the world's best player returning to tournament play anytime this year. The happy-go-lucky 19-year-old has been neither happy nor lucky here in '93, all because of a twist of fate from a twisted mind on a balmy spring day in Hamburg, Germany.
I felt something inside just too well. It's too good.
It was April 30th. Working off the rust from an 8-week layoff due to illness, Seles was leading her quarterfinal match with Magdalena Maleva 6-4, 4-3 when a routine court change turned into terror. Seles was attacked from behind by a crazed fan of number 2 in the world, Steffi Graf. The blow from a 9-inch boning knife ripped into her back below the left shoulder blade, tearing muscles just left of the spine. Stunned, shocked, then horrified, Seles collapsed on the clay court. This teenager who ruled tennis for 2 years had been stalked and finally reached by 38-year-old unemployed machinist Günter Parke, who said his wish was to see fellow German Graf reclaim the #1 ranking. After 4 months of tearful reflection, of physical and emotional anguish, Seles is still trying to rebuild her life, trying to pick it up somewhere forward of where she left off. Only this week has she felt strong enough to talk about it.
I'm feeling fine. It's been a while since it happened, so it's a lot easier for me to talk about it. And
Do you think it's made it a little easier now that you've started to talk about it?
a lot easier. I felt there's like a big weight off my shoulder a couple days ago when I first talked about it. It was very hard, and a month ago I couldn't even talk about it. Even my dad would want to talk to me, just, you know, is everything okay? And it's still hard, but I do have to put it behind me, I think, for me to go on. But I think as soon as I'm going to be able to hit a ball and just go back to the schedule that I had, it's going to make it easier. Now I have too much time to think a lot of days, and that's not good.
Can you take us back to Hamburg, to that day? It was interesting to me that you had just come back after a long illness, and things must have been, you must have really been excited and happy and feeling pumped. And
all I remember was, I mean, I don't even remember sitting down because I sit down so often that it's such a routine that I just thought of the match, that I'm giving Maggie just too much pace and she likes this, and okay, it's 4-3, let's try to finish the match here. And just I was almost ready to leave and I just felt something in my back, and then I touched in the back of it, and then I saw blood, and then and then my brother jumped in, and all he was saying, just stay calm, everything is going to be fine. And then everybody, and I just turned back a second, and I just saw this man who was holding a knife and just had it high up, and there's another guy choking him, or they're trying to get the knife away from him. I said, what just happened here? And all I remember was just my brother stay calm, and through the whole time, and my parents were not there to match, so I was lucky that my brother was there, because what he was able to do, I think, for me, is just, he kept me just concentrating on one thing. So I just, I asked him, what happened? He said, don't worry, just stay calm. And I was lucky that he was there. So.
What was it? I know there's a picture from a magazine at the time taken, and there's a look of absolute terror and wonder in when you turned around and saw and realized that someone, you had to realize that someone had attacked you. You knew it wasn't.
No, I saw the guy. I mean, I felt the impact of somebody just really going up and going into me, and by instinct, I jumped forward, and then I turned back, and I just saw this person with a knife, and I felt, and just millions of thoughts run through my, why did he just do something? Or then at the same time, I seen the blood, and then my brother jumps in, and everybody like just jumps and is like, and I never thought ever that something like this would happen. I mean, it's just, and I just thought, whoa, what happened? And then I just saw my brother, and since that, just told me to, don't worry, and that's all I kind of remember.
He said that he didn't mean to kill, he was just trying to disable you, and the whole thought that something like that over a #1 ranking.
I just felt that if that was his case, why did he want to stab me the second time? If you stab somebody, I'm sitting in a chair thinking about a match. I have no chance of knowing somebody's behind me. Not even in my wildest thoughts would I ever think that this is what's going to happen. He has a clear shot. He missed about this much from taking me out, probably, I mean, forever. And why would he go the second time? I think one time would have been enough for him to make sure, yeah, he took me out. But I can't, you know, it happened, and I do. Now when I go back, I just have to think, you know, hopefully I'll be able to do more with my game, maybe if I wouldn't have done beforehand. So I just have to look at the positive, because it's too sad when I look at the negative part of it. So.
Have you, in your own way, forgiven him?
I cannot really hold anything against somebody. It's hard to, you know, forgive somebody for something that he has done, and how much time he has taken out, I mean, of my career. But, I mean, that's life, and I have to leave it there and just go on, so. But I can't stay mad at somebody, no, it's not my nature.
Does a day go by when you don't think of it in some way?
Yeah, there are days, yeah. But something always reminds me of it. If I'm home and I just look into a corner where let's say I leave my rackets or balls, just like, ooh. To me, why it feels weird, because I would be at tournaments now, and here I'm in Florida or in Vail or wherever, and it's August, and this is not where I'm supposed to be. And I don't know why I am here, and that's for me just very hard to understand.
What is that feeling when you look at the rackets and you say, ooh? What does ooh mean?
Well, I tried about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I first held just the grip of the racket, just so hopefully I won't lose the whole feeling of it, and it felt very weird. It's like, whoa, did I ever play this sport for a second? And then the more I held it, felt fine. You know, I'm nervous as anybody would be. How am I going to feel when I first come back and hit a ball, because I haven't hit for so long, and no matter, I can keep myself physically in shape, but still the feeling has to be there when I go out there. So it's hard, and I try not to look at the racket. I mean, I have it in a corner that I usually don't open. I haven't opened it maybe once or twice. So you know, I'll open it when I'm already 100% lean. Then I could say I'm going out and can take everything out on a ball.
Her attacker is awaiting trial in Germany, charged with attempting to do grievous bodily harm. There's little doubt about the outcome of the trial, but what price he'll pay is the subject of much speculation. Many feel Gunther Parke will end up in a mental institution. As for Seles, physically, it's still wait and see. While the upper body's mending, Monica's wearing out the leg machines, but it's hardly no sweat. Our conversation goes into the gym next. After the attack, Seles allowed precious few visitors into her hospital room in Hamburg. Of course, her brother and parents were bedside right throughout. And while some of the other players asked to stop by, Monica preferred privacy. Then Steffi Graf just showed up. What followed was a most unique meeting between two of tennis's coolest customers.
It was very emotional. I mean, it was very short, it's about 2 minutes or something, but both of us, as I remember, didn't say a single word. We were just both crying. It was very hard on both of us, and it was hard, I think, on her also, because, I mean, just what happened, I don't think she ever wished for this to happen to anybody. I mean, Steffi's just, she always does her work on court, and and she's just an unbelievable competitor and an athlete. But I just felt, you know, she could have maybe called me once or twice instead and just asked me how am I, or how is everything going. But, you know, it's tennis.
That's tennis?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, I mean, well, when I first became #1, I always felt that everybody wanted that position. beforehand. I was number 3. A little bit easier around a lot of people, but that is normal because everybody wants to be the best.
You've been playing since you were 7, something like that?
7,
and
yeah.
now for 4 or 5 months it's been... Yeah. You've never faced this before.
No.
How much do you miss that?
Well, the first time I didn't play for about 4 to 5 weeks was Wimbledon 91, and then this year about when I had the virus.
But you always knew then it would
Always
be...
knew
and now...
this, and always knew that I'll come back. I'll have the feeling, all the fingers and everything, always. It's not going to get numb if I hold something too long. But there's always a doubt coming in your mind, and when I talked to somebody, they said it's normal, that will I be able to be as good as I was before, and how will I hit when I go on the court? And my answer to myself to that is that I always practice very hard, and if I'm going to practice hard, I'm going to be very eager. When I go back, I'll have that with me at least. It's going to take a lot of months. I told myself not to be impatient. That was one of the hard things when I'm in therapy, is that you do every day a lot of repeated work, and after a month it gets hard because there's not much variety that I could do with my shoulder. And now it's getting better, and I can do a lot of more smaller drills to get me used to the tennis footwork and everything. And maybe in some way my legs can get a little stronger. Aerobically I'll be a little bit stronger. That's about it.
Do you play mind games when you're rehabbing, when you're doing Stairmaster? And I mean, what's the little lullaby you're singing to yourself?
I tried. Well, if I have the TV in front of me, then of course I watch a program where I do the music. But I imagine just the fun times up to now. I think back a lot to 1990 French Open, how different it was then, and how I looked at a lot of things differently, how much I have grown in a way since that. Then I think back to 89 when I beat, I won my first tournament in Root. I beat Chrissy to that one, and just how many years have passed since that. Then I think, gee, I'm 19 and I have a very close family. They've always been there, and I just always try to look positive because especially lately, the negative thoughts just always want to come in. Why me? Why am I in a way being punished that I can't play these tournaments?
You've obviously physically paid a price, but emotionally it's been...
Yeah, very hard.
None of us we can imagine it, but nobody can really...
No. Even when I talk to other people who've been stabbed, we talk about the impact, how we feel at a point. It's hard for them to talk also, and for me, but in a way I feel comfortable because I know that they know the feeling of it. And there's this one lady, she said it happened to her about 20 years ago, and she said for 15 years she still felt, not everyday basis, the impact of it on her. And it's hard, why me, why then? What if I wouldn't have played Hamburg? But then supposedly he was following me for a long time, so then I think it happened. But I'm gonna go on in my life, is put it in the year in my mind, 93, and remember it. I mean, life is not gonna always go up, and I knew that when I was doing so well in tennis. A lot of times I would be feeling scared. It's going too well. When is the bad coming? And now when it came, I tried something. This is not bad. I'm lucky that I can hit a ball. If by this much he would gone, I could have maybe never hit a ball again. I look at that and I think, yeah, at least I can do that. So.
Monica told me she hopes to start ripping that little fuzzy soon, but absolutely not until she's completely pain-free. Certainly she hopes to be back by the Australian Open in January. How's she getting through all this? We'll talk about all that next. At age 7, moved over to the United States when she was 12. She told me if she had it all to do over again, she'd wait a few years. Life in tennis's fast lane is too much. What with traveling 11 months of the year, it certainly stunts the growth of real friendships.
In a way, it's very hard because no matter now when I could spend some time in the city for 4 months, which I haven't done since 1989, I realized that I cannot have the same friendships that when I travel, because if I would leave for Europe for 2 months, or even this year to Australia, I would come home in a month and a half, and everything where I left it with my friends, they were on to totally new things. And I would be thrown in there for a week again with them. By the time I caught up halfway, okay, I'm leaving to Chicago. And now, well, I didn't get a chance. Some of them visited me there, but I couldn't come here to Florida. And I did realize that I did miss that in a sense. And it's tough to traveling, just city to city. But there's always something, and I talked to a few other younger players, that there's always something that, you know, if you like something and you're dedicated, you have to have a little sacrifice, and that's mine. If I could change it, it would be spend home a little more and travel a little less, but I might be able to do that on my schedule, my tournaments a little differently, and hopefully we won't have to play as many tournaments every year. But
who's been right there for you in this?
Oh, my parents and my brother, that they have always been there, because just from the beginning. And for me, it was very hard, and they first came to the hospital. I thought, gee, why am I putting them through this? And for them, we would talk a lot.
You really thought, why am I putting them through this?
That was,
you had been stabbed.
Yeah, and I just thought, why? And is this all worth it? I mean, this whole thing for them. And for them, what's been hard is they say, gee, I mean, we never imagined, Monica, that this is what you would have to take to be a #1 player. Would it be, when I was 17, all the rumors in the press, or just about everything? And then also, I think here, for them, they felt like, gee, what did we bring her into this? And I just said, I mean, it's not their fault. I love this game, and I'm going to keep playing it as long as I like it. I never played it for my dad. I never played it to be #1. I played it because I love it, and I love when I go out there and I hit a ball and I get the enjoyment. Gee, this is such a great shot, but maybe I can do it a little bit better. But there have been a lot of, when we talked, all of us got emotional, and I don't, if they wouldn't have been here, or if I wouldn't have had a close family, I think it would be even harder. And because there are nights when I wake up and I think, gee, you know, what am I doing?
Have you awakened and gone and talked to them, or
yes, I did.
Run into their room like when we were all three?
And I woke them up and I think, gee, you know, I don't know what happened here. I only ever wanted to be a tennis player, and that's what I started out to be, and that's why I'm here. And I never thought that there would be so many other things in life that I would have to think about. But, you know, my dad says, you know, you'll be wiser, I guess, each year. And that's true. I learned each year something. And I was saying, when I'll be 23, and I look back now, I'll think, well, I learned. So,
certainly hard lessons of life at the top from a woman who's rolled with the punches on and off the court. Our conversation with Monica wraps up in a moment with birds of a different feather and a shopping binge.
Put your arms straight out and put them on your arms.
All right, Andy. Victims of a terrible trauma like the one Seles is coping with will not lose any of their love of life. Monica's youthful spontaneity was never more evident than we strolled the streets of New York City 2 years ago. After she won her first U.S. Open, it was her favorite kind of day, shop until you drop. From window shopping at Tiffany's to sampling the many stuffed species at FAO Schwartz. We can only hope the attack in Hamburg hasn't cost her that refreshing innocence.
I do hope it's always going to be there. It's just, when I think about that time, that day, then I lose it. Then I get into sadness part. But as soon as somebody tells me something, or I'm around people that I feel comfortable and everything, then it's back. I always hope, even if I get to age 50, I'll still have a part of me that's a kid and never lose that. Because it's, I mean, you should go through life as fun, no matter when it will end, or just enjoy every day. And that's the one thing, tell myself, and make the best of it. And laugh more and be a little more, just not take it so serious. I do take it a little too seriously. But hope I'll be able to do that. So, and I'm still so young. It's for me weird because a lot of times I feel like I'm a lot older.
I think people see that in you, that they've seen you for so long, they think you're 30 or 40.
Then when I get to my friends and then we talk about things or just be around them, and I think, wow, I mean, she still very young. A few more years to be, you know, no. But a lot of times it doesn't feel like it. Some days, or when some incidents happen, I think, wow, whoa, this is hard. I have to be happy, and that's the thing. Because I live with me every day, so.
It's not such bad company. That wraps up our conversation with Monica. Thanks very much for being a part of it. Good day, everybody.
He has like the banana split. He has 2 bananas. 4 different scoops of ice.
Presentation of CNN Sports.
Texas baseball fans like winners. That's why they love the team from Bel Air High.
People love to come out and watch us play, and they like to see winners, and we win.
Make room for a new name in the National Softball Record books. South Carolina's Haley Webb has a claim to fame. And there's a word for this lacrosse team from New Jersey: unbeatable. Hello, everybody. I'm Dan Debenham. Welcome to Scholastic Sports America, and welcome to Jacksonville, Florida. Now, I got a question for you. Have you heard the name Mary Pierce? Well, if you haven't, don't worry about it. We'll introduce you to her in just a minute. She's one of the world's top tennis players. She was born in Canada, lives in France, and she's here in Jacksonville this week. Her story is coming up on Scholastic Sports America. ESPN presents the youth of America doing their best on Scholastic Sports America. ESPN Scholastic Sports America is brought to you by McDonald's. What you want is what you get at McDonald's today. And by Coca-Cola Classic, sharing the Olympic ideal as a proud sponsor. You can't beat the real thing. Mary Pierce has a great job. She plays tennis for a living, and she's making a pretty good living. This 17-year-old turned pro 3 years ago at the tender age of 14, just 4 years after first picking up a racket. Ever since then, she's been vaulting, or shall we say volleying, her way up the rankings. In May of 1990, her number was 186. By October of that year, she had cracked the top 100. In April of this year, Mary Pierce was ranked 14th in the world. And get this, most members of the tennis world agree, Mary is only getting started. Still, Mary Pierce is somewhat of a misfit on the professional tennis circuit. She was born in Canada, raised in Florida, and now lives in France. No one's quite sure who to call her coach or why she plays with an older style racket, a narrow-bodied Wilson Pro Staff, when just about everyone else on tour plays with one of the new wide-body rackets.
That racket is more solid. It doesn't feel hollow like all the other wide bodies that I've tried. They don't feel like a solid racket, that it's hollow, too light, too flexible. It's not as stiff. The racket that I play is very stiff.
The racket may be stiff, but the rest of her game is about as fluid as it comes. She seems to have all the strokes, but what's really impressive is the power she hits them with.
I enjoy hitting the ball hard because hitting it soft, I just don't really feel like I'm doing anything. You know, I enjoy playing aggressive.
Her style of play is partially due to the fact that Mary has always practiced against first boys and now men. You can thank her dad for that.
They haven't seen the best of her yet. She just has begun. She's just a baby yet. I can't wait till she becomes a woman.
It's probably safe to say that Jim Pierce is his daughter's biggest fan. He has guided her career from day one. In fact, he and his wife, Yannick, sold their home in Florida to help finance Mary's way in tennis. It appears to have been money well invested. Young Mary Pierce made $90,000 playing professional tennis last year. $90,000, and she was only 16 years old. She's also ranked 14th in the world, as we've said. Some say she's achieved this success by picking and choosing her tournaments very carefully. Well, this week, here, just outside of Jacksonville, is the Baoshan Lam. The top talent is here. It's a great tournament, so why isn't Mary Pierce here? Well, some say she's being selective. Others say she's ducking the top talent in those tournaments.
I defy, and if I would like to put this challenge to the tennis world right now, I will take the top 10 girls in the world and let them go out on the court and practice with Mary one day, half a day, lose that mystique, that, respect for them, and then you shake them up in a paper bag and then you tell me to come out and who beats who. No, she don't duck nobody. No way.
Mary's mom, Yannick, does the actual tournament scheduling for her daughter and also doubles up as her tutor on the road. The teaching is easy. Mary's a good student. The scheduling's a bit tougher.
She hasn't played a lot of tournaments. She plays about 12 tournaments a year. 12 to 14, we feel it's enough, and she's going to play maximum 3 in a row, nothing more than 3.
I feel that after 3 tournaments in a row, like 3 weeks, I seem that I need a break, that I need to, take a break and rest and relax a little bit, because you kind of get tired. It's hard on the body to keep playing so many matches all the time, and mentally you get tired. So after about 3 weeks, I need a week or 2 break and then go back again.
So it appears her number 14 ranking is a reflection of intelligent scheduling as well as immense talent. For all intents and purposes, she is just waiting for her boat to come in here in the United States. You see, another boat has already set sail, come in, and anchored itself in France, where Mary lives, remember? So what's a girl raised in the Florida sunshine doing living in France? Well, for starters, her mother's from there, but it's more than that. The 5,000 miles between France and the U.S. of A. is the difference between night and day to Mary Pierce. In France, she has signed major endorsements, is featured in tennis magazines, and has been asked and accepted to play on the French Olympic team. As for the USA, well, apparently she couldn't get any help here from the United States Tennis Association when she first started playing. At least that's what Jim says. You have a problem with the USTA?
Amen. That's my best question I ever heard. I love it. Yeah. I never had a problem with them. And I think the new president of the USTA said, oh, there was a misunderstanding, and there was no misunderstanding whatsoever. We asked them, we begged them. They wouldn't pay my daughter's way to a tournament, but they would pay a foreigner's way to a tournament to go with her and pay his food and his hotel. Okay?
Okay, but not everyone sees it so cut and dry. The USTA has said it did offer coaching and a few bucks to boot to help Mary out, but that Jim made the relationship impossible.
The USTA were definitely willing to help, and believe me, they're sad that because I've talked to some of the people in the player development, they're sad to have lost Mary, but they couldn't make exceptions to certain rules that they had set just for Mary.
I'm sure he has her best interests at heart, but I think at times perhaps she's been victimized by all of that. She must be very strong. She must have a very strong constitution because, as she continues to climb in the rankings, she's already won a title in this young 92 season. She's at a career high 14 in the world. You root for somebody like Mary Pierce because she seems like a very sweet kid.
Yeah, I think Jim means really well, Mr. Pierce, but I just think sometimes he just doesn't know how to really control his emotions when he watches his daughter play tennis.
I don't know, Pam. That's what he was doing on this day, and he seemed all right to us. In fact, he was singing praises of his daughter and her coach.
I think he's the best in the world in volleys. I don't care who's Becker, who has who. Becker's got the best coach of this and the other. This guy's the best in the world for volleys, bar none.
Hermana Guerro is as much Mary's coach as anybody, probably more so. He's been working with her since he first saw her when she was just 12.
When I saw her, I got so excited. I called legendary Tony Trebor to go and see her play. And Tony Trebor came to see her in Tampa, and we all agreed that Mary is going to be an unbelievable tennis player.
A national champion in his native Colombia and a former pro himself, Herman has seen the best and likes what he sees in Mary.
Mary Pierce is the person to watch in the 90s. What people just glued their eyes on TV, on Chrissy Evert on the 70s, and they thought Chrissy Evert was, the person to watch, and they glued their eyes on Martina later, and then Steffi, and then for a little while Jennifer Capriati. People are going to have a big surprise when they see Mary just getting up on the rankings, because I just don't see anybody today, and I'm not the only one who's saying, I don't see anybody today hitting the ball as good as Mary does.
Herman says look for Mary to upset a lot of people at this year's French Open. Here's why. She's 5'10", 135 pounds of pure power. She practices on clay and will be playing in front of the home crowd. So Herman says, watch out. Mary says,
I don't like to say anything, very much. I don't like to talk too much like that. But
Every tournament I go in, I try and play the very best that I can on every point of every game of the match. So I just try to win one match at a time.
Sound strategy. One match at a time, one day at a time. The more experience she gets, the more she matures, the better she gets. She has her tennis life mapped out and on target. But what about her personal life? What about boys?
Do guys enter in your mind, or is it just, nah, there'll be a time for that?
Well, I mean, yeah, you can't say that they don't.
Do the boys have to come to the front door and meet Dad first?
Well, it's like this. I'm going to put 150 pounds outside the door, a barbell, and if they can't clear it and jerk it up above the head, don't come in the door.
It doesn't appear that the guys are a problem. The girls, on the other hand, are, as in the top 10 girls in the world, the women that Mary has to start beating if she wants to keep climbing.
Until she goes out and beats a lot of the top 10 players even, she's not going to make her way into the top 5. Who's going to give up that position? You're going to kick Martina out, Gabby, Steffi, Monica, or Sanchez. They're tough.
Yeah, but so's Mary Pierce. And no matter what side of the pond she's playing on, don't count this girl out.
I think that everybody, well, I don't know if they do or not, but would want to be and try to do the best that they can, which is number one. So that's, you know, what I'm looking for.
Well, it looks like Mary Pierce made a pretty good decision by not entering the Bausch & Lomb this week. It looks like it might get rained out. All right, when we come back here on Scholastic Sports America, we'll head off to Houston, Texas.
Against third-seeded Capriati in her Olympic debut. Capriati broke serve in the first game and the fifth game.
13-15. Somehow I knew this hard shot right in the corner was going to be a winner. She really turned her shoulders, cranked her body around, got a lot of pace.
Reineck had a difficult opening game. 5 deuces. She saved 4 break points, but finally Capriati got her, and that set the pattern of this match.
2 big less, 15-all.
11th tournament for Reineck, who's in the South African uniform, and the South Africans are the best-dressed team here. Never thought they'd get here in their playing careers. Wayne Ferreira, Reineck, and Christoph van Rensburg, but South Africa readmitted to the games.
Actually, Ferreira and van Rensburg played yesterday. They had the same outfits on.
That was unfortunate, the 2 South African men being drawn against one another, and that should lead to a reconsideration of the Olympic rule. It just should not happen. It's wide. Now Sergio Funes confirms his call. Sprightly garbed officials in their pink striped trousers, forest green jerseys, and red caps. These women have not met before. Now, a set point for Jennifer.
He's really played so much better this set. Less unforced errors, has hit much deeper, much harder. Whoa, bounced off the line.
Good angle by Elna Reineck, so she's still in the sets.
Now these were some good hands by Elna. Just rolled her wrist at the last second to get the angle. And it scooted off the line.
She's a 6-footer. She'll be 24 in December. Best win of her life against Mary Jo Fernandez a couple of years ago, but she'd like to have Jennifer scalped. It's out. Same linesman. She hears his voice on that close call. And it's set point again for Jennifer.